Glasgow has long been at the cutting edge when it comes to transport. As well as the subway, by the 1920s, it had one of Europe's largest tram systems. Today, the city also has the largest urban overground rail network in the UK, outside London. But Glasgow's most distinctive bit of transport infrastructure is also perhaps its most controversial. Between them, the M77, M74 and M8 make up the biggest urban motorway system in Britain and one of the biggest in Europe. The first section was opened in 1964. Since then, the motorways have just kept on growing. Today, tens of millions of journeys are made on Glasgow's motorways each year. The newest stretch, the M74 extension, was opened in 2012 and now carries 100,000 vehicles a day. For nearly 50 years, these ribbons of concrete have defined the cityscape and divided opinion. In the past, new sections have attracted fierce local opposition. But along the way, Glasgow's motorways have also picked up some fans.
You've never noticed that detail before. And elevated for a short stretch, down past Glasgow Cross, and then as you come back towards Glasgow Green, going back into Tunnel, re-emerging on the south side of the river, and then proceeding as the south flank, almost entirely elevated. And then
I believe the technical term for a road geek or road enthusiast is an odologist. Someone who's interested in the study of roads. I believe it's Latin.
Road geeks, motorway geeks, geeks are in at the moment, you know. Geeks are seen as fashionable.
Civil engineers Stuart Baird and John Hassel run a website telling the story of Glasgow's motorways.
I think I was always fascinated by the motorway. We did live quite near to Glasgow, and when we would go in shopping and on family trips and things like that, we would generally take the motorway, the M74 in particular, which is one of my favourites. So it's something I think that's grown with me.
I'm always a bit worried about doing things on that homepage, to be fair.
Why?
Just in case one does not approve, if you know what I mean. So.
It makes me sound like a tyrant. Some people have hobbies, model railways and things like that. Well, for me, it's the motorway. It's not just a model; it's there. It's real life. It exists. It's something that you can use. It's something you can see. It's very interesting.
As part of their research, Stuart and John are recording the personal stories of the people who built Glasgow's motorways. Today, they are meeting engineer John Cullen, who was involved from the very beginning.
Hi Stuart. Hi there.
Hello, John.
And thinking about the route chosen across the city, how much of that did were you involved in choosing that line?
The Monkland Motorway pretty well chose itself because it was going from the A8 to the ring road, and just on the open space after the Monkland Canal was closed.
In the early 1960s, when John began work on Glasgow's system, motorways were almost unknown in the UK. But he had a unique qualification. He had already experienced the future of road building in America.
See the freeways with their cloverleaf junctions, their space-age crossovers that make Britain's M1 look like a lazy country lane.
I ended up working in San Francisco on the design of what they call freeways, urban freeways. So when I returned to Scotland, I was almost certainly the only person in Britain who had actually designed urban motorways. It was fascinating. It was like solving puzzles.
Glasgow's motorway plan was the biggest and most radical the UK had ever seen. It involved flattening neighbourhoods and transforming the way the city functioned. The hope was that the motorways would relieve chronic congestion, cut road accidents, and improve life in Glasgow for everyone. So 50 years on, does John believe the motorways have been a benefit or a blight?
The average speed on the motorways today is about 50 miles an hour, and the average speed on the ordinary roads is about 20 miles an hour. So there's a very big saving in time. There's also a saving in accidents. It turned out that the motorways accident rate was 1/10 of that on the normal roads. To date, I reckon there's been a reduction in about 800 fatalities and 10,000 serious injuries within the city.
Today, the motorways that John helped to design are still keeping Glasgow moving, and they are carrying far more vehicles than anyone predicted at the time.
Well, the biggest flows on the Kingston Bridge, 180,000 vehicles a day. And on the north flank of the ring road at Townhead, it's 180,000 a day. I think on this road here, it's something just short of 100,000. That is big flows by any standard. I have to say that this particular part, I think, operates pretty smoothly.
So you're quite chuffed with it?
Yes.
Knowing the work that was involved in actually designing the system as well, you know, knowing the passion that was there of the original designers, you know that these guys were genuinely interested in moving Glasgow forward, and it's almost a pleasure to drive on their design, you know, their motorway that was ultimately constructed.
But to really appreciate the motorway, there's only one thing to do.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Run,
Go for a drive.
going faster miles an hour. Gonna drive fast and stop and shop with the radio on.
Here we are, joining the best section.
On approach to the Kingston Bridge and through the Charing Cross. It's got to be, it's the bit that everyone thinks of when they think of the urban motorway in Glasgow.
Most definitely.
So we've got 3 motorways meeting here. We've got the M77, we've got the M8 that we're on now, and we've got the new M74.
74 just coming up, absolutely.
And this is 16 lanes wide.
16 lanes wide.
16 lanes running lanes wide with 4 carriageways.
And all motorway traffic.
And all motorway
traffic. And hard shoulders as well. And the Charing Cross Canyon here. Oh,
Yes, brilliant.
yeah, fantastic.
I like the retaining walls.
Yep, nice clad retaining walls, bridges over there. And of course, buildings built over the motorway as well. You know, again, making a feature of it. You know, people
And there's
looking at their office now.
There's a junction in here.
Yep.
Don't forget
Through
that.
the tunnel there, yeah. And this is probably the section that feels most like that kind of American freeway model.
Yeah.
You know, where you've got the lanes coming on in the opposite side to normal. You know, you get no hard shoulders, nice big wide lanes, elevated structures, good overhead signage. You know, that tells you where you're going. You don't have any signage at the sides of the road, and of course floodlit by the high mast lighting as well. Fantastic feature.
Rode on it twice.
I would actually like to live near this. I know some people might not, but personally for us, I think it'd be good to see
Can
this.
you imagine opening the blinds in the morning and looking out onto the urban M8? I mean,
I would love that.
yeah. I mean, some people would think that was crazy, but no.
Maybe it is.
The building project that John began still isn't complete. In 2015, work finally commenced on the last section of the M8 to the east of Glasgow. And the M74 has now been completed, connecting the city's ring road together 50 years after it was started. Building bigger roads is one way of keeping Scotland moving.